Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reading chapter 2 and 3 of Training and Trauma, Such a Great Mix by Dark Phantom 248 on AO3. If I sound tired, it's because it's literally 10 p.m. and I kind of forgot about doing this, but I remembered I promised you guys, so I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna keep to my promise. And also, in the last chapter, or last video, whatever you want to say, I forgot to read the summary. So, I'll read the summary in this one. So, I'm gonna shut up so you can listen to what you came for. Okay. Summary. Izuku had been a happy kid before the incident happened. After that, Izuku had realized he needed to protect himself better. This was a lesson he learned at age 4, and he'd been training ever since. After a little while of him training on his own, he comes across a lavender-haired boy. They help each other and become best friends. What will happen next? Read to find out. Sorry, I have to scroll to get to chapter 2. Okay. Chapter 2. Friends? None. Actually, maybe one. Maybe. Bam! The wood stump split in half. Damn it! Izuku exclaimed. It was supposed to last at least another week. Izuku is now 7 years old. It's been 3 years since his mom died and his dad left him. Ever since that shit happened, he'd been alone. Well, he still had his auntie and uncle who were taking care of him, and he'd sometimes see those 7 people he saw when he was 4. Apparently they were like his guardians or something, and 2 of them were actually related to him, but other than them, he was alone. Izuku had the same routine since he was 4. At night, his auntie left. He'd go out the front door of the apartment and through the doors of the complex, which always confused the front desk lady who'd see him leave and then leave again 10 hours later. After he did his training, he'd scale the building into his window. Today was no different, other than the fact he had to go buy some more wood. He knew the store was open right now, and he had his wallet, so he decided he'd go get the wood and get back to training. Izuku started walking toward the store. This particular wood store served the quirkless, and Izuku was a regular customer. He loved all the employees there, and he was broken out of his thoughts by the sound of heavy breathing and laughter. Bullies. He could tell the sounds were coming from the alleyway up ahead, so he rushed toward the alley. When he looked into the alley, he saw 2 boys standing over another who was on his knees, holding his neck and breathing heavily. Hey! Izuku yelled. The 2 boys whipped around to look at him. Get away from him! He yelled. And what are you going to do if we don't? One boy with curly blue hair asked. Izuku glared at the boy. He took a step back. Okay, geez, ruin all our fun. Fine, we'll leave. The other boy, who had straight, light pink hair, said. Hurting people isn't supposed to be fun, he growled out. Yeah, whatever, the pink-haired boy said, rolling his eyes and dragging his friend out of the alley. But before they could even get past the threshold, Izuku grabbed the boy by his collar and punched him in the jaw. He heard the boy with blue hair gasp. Get out of here, Izuku said, waving a dismissive hand at the boys. They quickly ran off. Izuku sighed and looked at his hand. Surprisingly, his hand didn't hurt from how hard he'd punched that boy. Maybe he was getting stronger. At that moment, Izuku remembered why he was in that alleyway in the first place. His eyes shot up to look at the purple-haired teen who was gasping for air. Izuku now noticed a muzzle laying on the ground in front of the boy. This wasn't going to be good. Hey, Izuku said, rushing over to the boy and kneeling in front of him. The boy looked up at him, eyes full of fear, terror, and hurt. Izuku knew he'd have the same look on his face if Kachan and Rentaki or Hama had just hurt him. Don't worry, I'm going to help you, Izuku reassured, but the boy just seemed to tense even more. Izuku quickly took off his backpack and took out his medical kit. He started mumbling to himself as he thought about what to take out. Since you're holding your neck, I can assume you probably have a wound there, and considering the muzzle on the ground, you're probably bleeding on the inside of your mouth, alongside some bleeding around the area of your chin and cheeks. Since you are wearing a muzzle, I can assume your quirk is voice-activated and considered villainous. Stupid society and its beliefs of people having villainous quirks, when literally anyone can use their quirk for villainy. Quirks are literally just tools, Izuku said, before finally asking the boy a question. Are you hurt anywhere other than your face and neck? The boy gave him a hesitant shake of his head. Izuku just nodded. Can you move your hands so I can wrap the wound? Izuku asked, pulling out a roll of bandages. The boy moved his hands. Izuku could see the blood on the boy's hands as he moved them. Izuku moved his eyes to the boy's neck. He saw a gash that could only be caused by a knife. Izuku quickly, calmly, and carefully wrapped up the wound. Once he finished wrapping the wound, Izuku looked at the boy's face. He could tell the boy's mouth was full of blood. He grabbed a plastic cup from his bag. Here, Izuku said, offering the boy the cup. The boy tilted his head in confusion. Oh my god, he looks so cute. Like a tiny kitten. Stop, Izuku. You need to focus. You can split the blood you have in your mouth in here, Izuku said, giving the boy a small smile. The boy took the cup and put it to his mouth before opening his mouth and letting the blood run from his mouth into the cup. While the boy was emptying his mouth full of blood, Izuku grabbed some alcohol wipes. When he turned back, the boy was wiping his mouth on his arm. Izuku smiled sadly. Can I wipe your face off with these? Izuku asked, showing the wipes. The boy nodded without hesitation. Izuku smiled as he grabbed a wipe and started wiping the blood off of the other boy's face, hands, and arm. There, Izuku exclaimed, as he finished wiping all of the blood off the other boy. The boy gave him a small smile. Izuku gave him a smile in return as he packed up his medical kit. Once he was finished packing it, he put it in his bag and turned back to the other boy, not wanting to leave him just yet. Hey, I was heading to a store nearby. Do you want to come with? Izuku asked. The boy nodded. Izuku smiled and stood, putting his hand out to help the other boy up. The boy took his hand. Once they were both standing, Izuku decided to sign and talk. Do you know sign? He asked, in JSL and Japanese. The boy nodded before signing back. Yeah, I learned since I go mute a lot. Izuku nodded as they started to walk. What's your name? He asked, signing. Hitoshi Shinzo, the boy. Shinzo, finger spelled. Izuku smiled. It's nice to meet you. I'm Izuku Midoriya. He finger spelled his own name for Shinzo. He saw Shinzo hesitate before signing something. Can I make your sign name green? Izuku smiled. Sure, only if I can make yours purple. He signed. Shinzo smiled and nodded. Where are we going? Shinzo asked, still signing. I can't talk. We're going to the wooden hardware store just down here, Izuku signed. Hitoshi nodded. I heard they're very against quirk discrimination, and many people consider it a safe place. Shinzo signed. Izuku nodded. Yep, they're amazing. I consider it a safe place to go and buy some of the essentials I need. There are also some other discrimination-free stores and stuff around Masatafu. If you want, I can give you a list of them, Izuku signed. Sure, Shinzo signed as they made it to the store. Right as he opened the door to let Shinzo in, he heard someone call his name. Izuku, there you are. I was wondering if you'd come by tonight. Orianne, one of the regular workers said. Izuku smiled and let out a small huff of laughter. Yeah, I broke the stump again, so I decided I needed more wood, Izuku said, rubbing the back of his neck. Okay, Orianne, who said, Who's this? Izuku looked over at Shinzo, who was just looking at him. This is Shinzo, Izuku said, smiling. He was being discriminated against, and I punched one of the guys in the jaw. Izuku didn't feel like telling a story he didn't know all the parts to, so he just let the man idea of what happened. Damn, okay, Izuku, I see you, Oriane said, nodding his head. Izuku just shook his head. Can I get my stuff now? Izuku asked. Damn, you're very bossy for a 7-year-old, Oriane said. Izuku rolled his eyes. That's because I'm in a rush to be back in the apartment by 11:30 at the latest. But I don't think I'll be able to sleep tonight. Stupid insomnia, Izuku said. I feel you, Granuli, another worker Izuku had befriended, said. Insomnia keeps me up at night. Izuku sighed at the teen. Hi, Granuli, he said, approaching the register with Shinzo behind him. Hey, Izu, she said. Izuku pulled out his wallet as Oriane scanned the wood. $12.37 for 2 logs of wood, just like normal, Oriane said. Here, Izuku said, putting a 10, 2 ones, and 2 quarters on the counter. Keep the change. I don't want it. Aw, you're too sweet, Izuku, Oriane said. Izuku just gave him a small smile as he took the bag with the 2 logs off of the counter. Let's get away from these idiots, Shinzo, Izuku said, looking at Shinzo, who looked amused. Shinzo nodded. Right as they were about to walk towards the door, it swung open. In came Eraserhead, an underground pro hero. All their eyes widened. And if yours didn't at least widen figuratively, well, then you have no sense of humor. Do you have any knives in here? Eraserhead asked, panting. I just threw my last one and I need a knife ASAP. Izuku reached for his belt before anyone else could say or do anything. Here, he said, pulling a knife from its sheath and throwing it to Eraserhead. Try to get it back to me, but if you can't, it's fine. Got it, Eraserhead said. Thanks, kid. Eraserhead ran out of the store and Izuku saw him throw a knife at a shadowy figure, and then yell, Ha! I finally got your sorry ass! Izuku watched as the man used his capture weapon to secure the man before pulling the knife out of the figure's shoulder. Izuku watched him make sure the wound was covered by the binding cloth. He walked over to Shinzo and Izuku, who were standing at the door of the store. Here, the man said, holding the knife out for Izuku to take. I don't know why you have a knife on you, but I'm not going to question you as long as you're not harming anyone. Izuku took the knife and wiped the blood off as he spoke. I would never use a knife to harm anyone for anything but self-defense, since I want to be a hero, and because it's the right thing to do, not harm others. The man gave him a small smile, or smirk. Izuku can't tell. Thanks again, kid, the man said, bowing before leaving. Once the man was gone, Izuku turned to look at Shinzo. He saw the boy staring after the man who had just left. Izuku could see Shinzo was fanboying over Eraserhead. On the inside, at least. Izuku smiled. You like Eraserhead? Izuku asked as he sheathed the knife. Shinzo turned back to look at him and smiled. Yeah, he's my favorite hero, Shinzo sighed. Izuku smiled even wider. That's cool. He's one of my favorite heroes too. For me, he comes second only to All Might, Izuku sighed. Shinzo nodded in understanding. Don't we have to get going? He sighed. Right, Izuku sighed. Come on, let's go. Izuku and Shinzo started walking. Where are we going? Shinzo sighed, after about 3 minutes of walking. Oh, right, Izuku said, instead of signing, since his hands were full. I have this training spot in the woods by my apartment. I was planning on showing it to you if you want to see it. The purple-haired teen just nodded, and they continued to walk. After another 3 minutes of walking, they made it to the clearing. Ta-da! Izuku exclaimed as he put the wood down and spread his arms wide. This is my training ground. He looked into the purple-haired teen's eyes and saw awe filling the boy's eyes. He smiled. Hey, Shinzo, Izuku said to get the boy's attention before signing. Do you want to train with me? Shinzo's eyes lit up. He smiled before signing back. Sure. Once given confirmation, Izuku started helping Shinzo train. By 2 in the morning, Izuku had written up a whole meal plan and exercise plan for Hitoshi. Oh, yeah, Shinzo had also asked Izuku to call him Hitoshi, and in turn, Izuku told him he could call him Izuku. The two decided they'd start meeting in the clearing every night at 9 o'clock. They were about to part ways when a thought occurred to Izuku. How was Hitoshi allowed to be out this late at the age of 7? Did his parents neglect him? Then, Izuku thought about an even worse outcome. Did Hitoshi run away from home? Izuku decided to ask. Purple, he signed. Yes, Hitoshi signed back. Do you have a good home life? Izuku finally decided on. As good as one in foster care can have, Hitoshi signed. That made Izuku sad. Hitoshi was in foster care, which meant either his parents couldn't take care of him, or his parents left him because of his quirk, which Izuku found out was called brainwashing. Did they hurt you? Izuku signed. Only if I talk, Hitoshi signed back. That's why I had that muzzle. Izuku froze. The muzzle wasn't from the boys who were bullying him. It was from his foster parents. Izuku's stomach was churning. Do you want to go back? Izuku signed. Hitoshi hesitated before signing back. No, not really. Izuku gave him a sad smile. Do you want to come home with me? Izuku signed. Really? Hitoshi signed, eyes bright with happiness. Izuku nodded. Auntie would be fine with it, he signed. Hitoshi smiled with glassy eyes before hugging Izuku tight. Thank you, he whispered, voice gruff from how dry his throat was. You're welcome, Izuku said after Hitoshi pulled back. Izuku grabbed a water bottle and tossed it at Hitoshi. That's for the road, since we're gonna sneak into your foster home and pack your stuff, Izuku said, smirking. Hitoshi took a swig of water before asking, We are? Mm-hmm, Izuku nodded. Okay, Hitoshi said, standing. They made their way to the window of Hitoshi's room at his foster family's home. Izuku tried it to see if it would open. It was locked, as expected. Izuku reached into his pocket and grabbed a lock-picking kit. He started picking the lock. Do you just have anything and everything on your person? Hitoshi asked. Basically, Izuku whispered. That's kinda scary, Hitoshi said, shuddering. Izuku smiled. You can never be too prepared, he exclaimed, quietly. Hitoshi nodded at that. Okay, I get that, he said. Then, Izuku finished picking the lock and opened the window, climbing in. Hitoshi climbed in after him. Izuku smiled at the room. It had white, bland walls full of colorful and lively posters of heroes and stuff. Do you have a backpack or suitcase to put your stuff in? Izuku asked, making sure to whisper. Yeah, suitcase is in the closet, Hitoshi said. After about 10 minutes, Hitoshi's suitcase was packed and ready to go. When they were about to leave, Izuku had an idea. He made sure Hitoshi was fine with it, which he was. Once he finished writing the short and concise letter to Hitoshi's fosters, they climbed through the window. Don't worry, they made sure to close the window after they left. After about 15 minutes of walking, they made it back to Izuku's apartment complex. Izuku decided he'd just scale the building twice tomorrow since he wasn't doing it today. They walked through the lobby and into the elevator. Once the doors were closed, they started talking. I can't believe no one even gave us a second glance, Hitoshi said. Yeah, that's because they don't really care for me, Izuku said, rubbing the back of his neck. Why do they not care for you? Hitoshi asked, eyebrows coming together. Well, since I don't have a quirk, they think I'm useless, Izuku explained, hoping Hitoshi wouldn't leave him because of that fact. Quirkless doesn't mean useless, he heard Hitoshi say, which made him look up at him. Izuku smiled. Thanks. I think I needed to hear that, he said. Once they got to Izuku's floor, they stepped off the elevator. They made their way toward the apartment. After Izuku unlocked the door and Hitoshi's stuff was inside, Izuku explained to him that he could take Izuku's old room since he didn't sleep in there. So they started moving Hitoshi's stuff into the room. After 15 minutes of unpacking and talking, they finished. Once they made sure they had unpacked everything, they had a snack. When they finished, they tried to go to sleep. Insomnia really does keep you up at night, considering how Izuku and Hitoshi didn't sleep the whole night. They just talked and played board games while they waited for the sun to rise. When Auntie came in the front door, Hitoshi and he were already at the island waiting for her. She walked into the kitchen and froze at the sight of them. Izu, who's this? She asked. Hi, Auntie, Izuku said, smiling sheepishly. This is Hitoshi Shinzo. He's my friend. From school? Auntie asked, confused. No, I met him last night, Izuku exclaimed. How? Auntie asked, eyes narrowed. Well, Izuku paused. There's no good way to say this, but I basically snuck out of the apartment and went on a walk to talk to the people at the wooden hardware store. On my way there, I found Hitoshi being bullied, so I helped him. Then he told me about his terrible foster family, and I asked him if he wanted to stay here with me. He said yes, and so we got all of his stuff moved in early this morning. By early this morning, what time are we talking? Auntie asked. 3, Izuku said. Auntie sighed before ruffling his hair. You're crazy, Izu, but that's why we love you, she said. Now, remember, you're not supposed to sneak out because it can be dangerous. But I'll let it slide this time. Izuku smiled as his auntie made her way to the kitchen to make breakfast. Okay, that's all I'm gonna read for today. I'm tired. I want to go to sleep. And this chapter took longer for me to read than I expected it to. So I will post chapter 3 tomorrow. I'll wake up early enough to post it early in the morning. This is Eastern time zone, by the way. Just so you guys know what time I be posting. I'm gonna post it like I'll shoot for like 8 a.m. Eastern time. Cause I'm gonna try and wake up at like 5. Yeah, so I just finished writing chapter 3 today, but if you want to read it, it's up on AO3. So just look up trauma and training, such a great mix. Training and trauma, whatever. I don't even remember things, okay? I'm sorry. But I'm gonna go to sleep now. After my video is posted. But after the video is posted, I will go to sleep. I promise. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the fanfic. And I will see you tomorrow morning. Bye!